Good afternoon and good evening to on and all present here. I think we have some international panelists who may have a different time as well. So it gives me an immense pleasure in welcoming all of you for an international online panel discussion on a very interesting topic on challenges for startups in aerospace industry. So before we go to the proceedings, I would like to invite Dr. Devasundari, our Associate Dean, to welcome the gathering. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, that's Professor Michael, Giru, Moin, and Shivanandita, our alumnus, all of you, a hearty welcome to this panel discussion today. And I think and especially in this pandemic, I think it's the right topic that you all have chosen. You know, the startups are suffering a bit, and few startups are performing so well because of pandemic, and some startups, especially aerospace industry, is struggling a bit. We all read that. And why we wanted to, just to give an input to Professor Michael. So, you know, even our students started feeling that whether that aerospace industry, whether the course they have chosen is right. You know, there are so many questions like that for our students also. So professors, you know, they came up with a suggestion of doing this to hear from different, from the startups as well as from a different other countries' perspective also. So thanks for accepting our invite and joining us today. And I once again welcome all of you for the panel, and let's have a good panel discussion today. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, ma'am.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am. As you can see, we are having four eminent speakers for the session today. So the most senior of the member is Dr. Michael Fitzpatrick. He is Pro Vice Chancellor of Coventry University, UK. So we'll start with the academician. So, and plus, I think he also has a experience as an industry, I mean, in business as well. So he is a multi-thing domain. So I'll just introduce him and we will start with him. And I think it will set the tone for the discussion. So what we are going to have is we're going to have a 10-minute session. I would like all the four speakers to speak on the topic challenges that the startups can face. After the initial the discussion, I mean, the speaking will go on to the like a question answer session of like from the participants as well as from the panelists. Okay, so first I would like to introduce the first speaker, Dr. Michael Fitzpatrick. He has a very amazing profile, so I will not be able to tell everything. So I'll try to make it in a short bio. So he is a Pro Vice Chancellor in Faculty of Engineering and Environment and Computing, Coventry University, United Kingdom. He has a doctorate from University of Cambridge in the year 1995. He also has a master's in advanced management program from MIT, USA in Sloan School of Management, which is a prestigious institute. And he also has a Bachelor of Arts in Natural Science from University of Cambridge. He is responsible for portfolio of engineering, environment, and computing. He holds Lloyd's Register Foundation Chair of Structural Integrity and System Performance. His research centers on application of advanced experimental methods to material engineering applications, particularly in the nuclear power and the aerospace industry. His research assesses material performance and structural integrity. He works with partners in industry and national laboratories as well. He chairs the board of CU Services Limited, the university's subsidiary company that supports commercial activity across the group. He is also the non-executive director of Diamond Light Sources Limited, which is UK's national synchrotron X-ray facility. So he's a multi-discipline personality, and I think he has a very great profile. So we are glad to have you, sir, and over to you, and you can start. Thanks.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. So thank you for the introduction. What I'll do is I'll just give you a bit of context of my background and what I've done with the aerospace industry, and then I'll talk a bit about what the challenges are for startups in general and specifically in aerospace. So I work on structural integrity. So this is effectively designing components so that they're safe. And a lot of my work over the years has been in collaboration with the aerospace industry, designing new structural methods and new processes in order to be able to do either safer assurance that if you get cracking in an airframe structure, which is almost inevitable over sort of the life of an airframe, how that can be dealt with safely by inspection. So I work on things like surface treatment methodologies, on novel structural designs in collaboration with partners like Airbus and the US Air Force Research Laboratory. Now, in my role at Coventry, I also look after some of the commercial links. And one of the relevant things is that I'm a director for one of the university's spin-out companies. And this is a spin-out company that's making wearable technology to prevent vibration-related injury in the workplace, in construction and in manufacturing. There is something called vibration white finger. You can look it up on Google, where if you're operating something like a drill for long periods of time and your hands are subjected to vibration, it can cause a long-term injury because of changes in the blood flow in the hand. So the product, it was designed by one of our students, a bachelor's student who had done a placement in industry. He'd heard about this as a problem. He'd looked at what was on the market as a solution, and he said, this is inadequate. The products on the market, they're not using the best modern technology. They're not using the best method. So he asked the university to help set up a spin-out company. The university did. It's been running for 2 years and he's just achieved first sales. So let me talk firstly then about what the challenges are for a company like that setting up as a startup. And the first thing, of course, is where are you going to get your advice from? So who is going to advise you on how to set up a business, how to work out your cash flow, how to recruit staff, how to pay staff, how to deal with issues of taxation. And fortunately, if you're a university spin-out startup, often the university will have an office that can help you with those sorts of things. The second issue is, where are you going to get money from? And okay, in the long term, and hopefully the long term is fairly short, customers are going to pay you money. Now, I get a lot of inquiries from academics at the university who say, I want to set up a spin-out company. And when I ask them, okay, sort of what's the market, in 5 years' time, who is going to be writing you checks every month, which is going to lead to profits of the company, they don't know what the answer is. They have a good idea, but it's not really a business idea. So you have to have your 5-year plan. In 5 years, who is going to be buying your product? But how are you going to get to the point where you have your first product that you can sell? So for the company that that I'm a director of, for Aerodynamics, we went to small investors. Now, fortunately, in the UK, there are very good tax incentives for small investors to invest in startup companies. It's something that the government promotes quite heavily. But essentially, what you're doing is you're going to small investors who might be putting somewhere between £2,000 and £20,000 in, and having a group of them all putting in relatively small amounts of money. But what that allows you to do, it allows you to pay the staff you need to do the development. It allows you to start to build up a manufacturing supply chain and to eventually have a box of things in your office that you can start selling. And then, of course, when you sell them, that generates more money and you can have the next product and so on. So where you get the money from is important. And also getting that money in a way that doesn't constrain you. And I'll just tell you one story. There are large corporate investors in the UK, and one of them offered us quite a lot of money. I think it was probably about £150,000. So which would have pretty much sorted the startup cash flow problems. But that investment came with a lot of conditions. Our small company would have had to have provided all of the legal costs that they would have incurred in making the investment. We had to give them preferential conditions on if the company was sold later on. And we were in the fortunate position, we had lots of small investors So we could say, actually, you know, even though you're offering us a lot of money, we don't want it because your conditions are too onerous. So finding out where your startup money is going to come from, and ideally finding an equivalent network of small investors, that's quite important. So that's the first challenge for any startup. You know, where is the money going to come from to get you to the point of making sales? Now, in the aerospace industry, there's then a secondary issue. The aerospace industry is very highly regulated. So one of the reasons that that my research focuses on the aerospace industry, and to a lesser extent the nuclear power industry, what's the commonality between those two? They're both safety critical and they're both very highly regulated. In order to put a product into the aerospace market, in order to sell a plane, it has to be certified by national and international bodies. And if it's not certified, you can't sell it, no airline can buy it, nobody can fly it. This then cascades down into the supply chain. A lot of the work that I've been doing over the last 5 years has been on a new treatment called laser peening. And laser peening, it's been developed over a period of about 20 years. It's used extensively in aero engines. So all of the major aero engine manufacturers, they use laser peening for the areas where the turbine blades or the fan blades and the discs meet, and you can get movement between the two, and the laser treatment stops cracks initiating at those junctions. And what we've been investigating is ways of applying the method to fuselage structures, to wing structures, in order to be able to effectively make the lives of the airframes longer. Now, Airbus have been working with various people around the world who use this method as a research tool. And what their message has been to those people is, if you really want to make the transition from being somebody who uses this for research to somebody who wants to be in the aerospace supply chain, you are going to have to meet a lot of conditions. You are going to have to change the way that you do things. You're going to have much more rigorous documentation. You're going to have much more rigorous quality control. Every part that comes through your facility is going to have to be tracked through. You're going to have to be absolutely clear about everything that's been done to it before it can pass out of the door. If you want to have something that we can use as repair operations, it's all very well that your facility is in the Czech Republic, but if we've got a plane that's on the ground in Delhi that needs a repair operation, you're going to have to develop something that can be taken and used on the ground in Delhi. As you can imagine, a lot of laser systems, they're very big and they're removable. Some of the work is going to have to be on doing that. And this wasn't a message that went down very well with a lot of these suppliers. They were very happy being research laboratories. They wanted to work with industry. In some cases, they were being told to work with industry. But that transition in thinking between, we operate here and people come to us, to we're going to have to take our facility somewhere else, wasn't something that they want to engage with. And then, of course, you do then have to have all of the steps in having the process that you want to apply approved by the regulators for use in operation. And if you're a small company, if you're a startup company, if you're trying to do that in isolation, it's a very difficult and a very costly process. So really, you need to have the pull from a big player in the industry who sees that what you have is unique and is valuable, and will do a lot of the work for you, and will take your product and move it through in order to get the certification. And then really that brings me on to the final point, which is that for any startup company, you have to look at what you're doing that's unique, that means that it can't be copied. And some of this is, if possible, you may have an idea that's patentable, or you may be able to get a design trademark or the equivalent. But what's going to stop one of the big companies looking at what you do and saying, "Oh, well, we will just do that"? And the answers are often, firstly, that you've patented or filed a trademark. Secondly, that you have absolute expertise in your organization that nobody else can copy. The only way they're going to get your personal expertise or the expertise of your team is to buy it, which is what you want. Or finally, and we're in the process at the moment in my university of looking at setting up a spin-out company, and we know that it may only have a lifetime of 1 to 3 years. So we've got a great idea for a product. It's really just a systems synthesis of things that are already on the shelf. But if we put it together, we'll be the first in the market, and we can sell it, and make money straight away. It costs a lot less to assemble this than it will to sell it. So as soon as we sell the first one, we've made money, and we can keep on making money. If in 18 months' time somebody else comes along and starts selling them cheaper, and there's no longer any business for it, we would walk away. We would have made the money, and that would be the end of it. So having what do you want your company to become as a startup? Are you looking to grow it into a large company? Are you looking to always operate as something that's unique and it will generate money for you and a small team on a short space of time? Or are you looking to grow over 4 to 7 years and then sell your company for $30 million and retire to a nice island somewhere? So that's my little introduction. I hope I've said some interesting things, and I'll be interested to hear from the other speakers.
Yes, sir. That sets the tone for the rest of the discussion. So thank you, sir. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Kribakaran Sivalingam, who is the co-founder and director of Sealbotics Private Limited. So the first speaker was a very much senior person, but the next 3 speakers we are going to see are going to be the young, energetic people who have already started their companies, and they're going to discuss about the challenges they have faced. So coming back to Dr. Kribakaran, he's a robotics engineer with a proven track record in the design, modeling, analysis, and implementation of innovative robot systems for biomimetic and aerospace applications. So he has a PhD from University of Manchester, UK, in aerospace, aeronautical, and astronautical engineering in the year 2016. He also has Bachelor of Engineering from University Technology Malaysia in the year 2012. His company Sealbotics strives to deliver cutting-edge technology to his clients. Innovation and simplicity makes their company happy. The goal of the company is to remove any technical or technological barriers that can prevent business owners from evolving their business entities. His research group conceives, designs, and operates advanced robotic systems to meet the need for precision and longevity of service in society and industrial applications. His company has been providing excellent service since 2019 in various sectors, ranging from plantation, e-commerce, shipyard, quarry consultants, and more. So from an academician, pro vice chancellor, we are moving on to a robotics person. So let's hear from him in his perspective. Over to you, Dr. Prabhakar.
Hi. Good evening. Thanks for the introduction, sir. Okay, so I'm Giru from Malaysia, and I just want to start with the bit of introduction of what our company does, and then how we get the idea actually to start up this company in the first place. Because I had an idea to become an academician in the first place after finishing my PhD. But then came back to Malaysia and then realized that actually academics doesn't fit to me, because I like to do more research and hands-on job. And so that's how I moved to creating actually started with working with a research company called Cambia Network. So it's a startup as well, actually. So gained some experience there about for 1 to 2 years, and then realized that it's good time to start our own business before COVID hit, actually. So if I realized that COVID gonna hit anytime soon, maybe I would have delayed, but that's aside. Okay, at Robotics, because basically my interest area is aeronautic, aerospace, and robotics. So we thought of creating something related to drone in the first place, but then eventually moved to handling anything related to robotics, work on agriculture as well for sustainability and everything. So I will give an idea as we speak. Okay, so Robotics is basically a drone company. We does aerial mapping. We supply drones from China with this part to Malaysian customers. And also we specialize in customizing the payloads for drones, or even improvising any existing drones or customized drones for customer needs. That's we do. But then when we started working with agriculture people, we came up with the idea to creating IoT platforms, sensor platforms that work with solar energies and everything to gather data and transfer, since it's somehow related and everything with robotics side. Okay, and moving on to today's topic, what are the challenges that face by startups? I few points here. I think some of the points has been covered by Prof. Michael. We'll just start out with something. Okay. First of all, I think finding the right people to start up the company is the key thing. Especially when you used to study in a university, you have a group of friends, and they have the same mindset. Then you have idea, okay, why not we start our own company? But it's important to understand capability, let's say, of your partners, and each must have their individual roles, not the same roles if can. They need to complement each other and to form the right partners to start up the company. And I've seen that some people start with 5 partners in the company in the beginning, and then as they move on, there's some issues, then they might end up breaking the company, shutting down the company and moving their own direction. So it's good to know what the role I'm going to do, or what your partner going to complement in this company, and then everyone to be clear on their workloads and what are the key things they need to focus on in the startup. Clearly, we'll have a technology guy, a developer, and then and I've seen actually most of them, especially those who start out from engineering background, everyone will have the engineering mindset and everyone to be a technology developer, but then we need to have business developers as well as we move on to work on the cash flows, and then to find the network to make our business model work. So that's a key thing as well. Sometimes the engineering background guys miss out. So it's good to know if you don't have a partner, then as we move on, then we need to hire someone who can be a dedicated business developer to make sure there's a sustainability in the startup. Okay, and then as second point is getting how you're going to fund your startup. Funding is an important thing to make sure that the idea that we have can be materialized, and then the business model would sustain, the idea will sustain until it become a business model. Personally, from my experience, getting funding is not as easy as it used to be, especially after the COVID hit us. All the big players, the venture capitals guys, they are a bit hesitating to invest since the COVID-19. So it's hard to prove that your idea works, and then it can make money in this current time period. So getting the funding for the startup is a key thing. And then another important thing is that scaling up. So as we start, maybe it'll be a small group of people to come up with a POC to get the idea out, and then to show that this thing works in the first place. And then we need to scale up at one point so that you can move on to production. Let's say if it's an item or a robotics stuff or a drone, we need to move on to production so that you can scale up and then produce this, and then you can hit the market, and then we can sustain to deliver items to the customers and keep on getting the cash flow and everything. But when to scale up is the key thing. When is the right time to scale up, and how we should scale up? Is it we can straight away move to a new building, getting a like a small factory to set up the things, or it should be a temporary area? Or because there's now in Malaysia especially, we can work with OEM guys who can produce the production can be taken care of them, so we can outsource our designs and everything. Then they can start production. There are such things in Malaysia as well. So we need to take some decisions whether we're going to move in that direction for now before starting up our own production lines and everything. So, and as Prof. Michael said, so getting advice to do these things. So when you need to scale up, how to get the funding is the key thing. And what I've learned is that discussing with those who have gone through this process, starting a business in engineering, and then they have sustained for, like, let's say for the past 10 years, and they can produce items and everything. They are good known company in your area, within your network. It's good to have them as advisory or just a well-wisher, because they have a lot of experience that we can tap into to know, to help us with the funding and to make the right decision at the right time in the beginning. So I would say that sort of network or people need to be in your network to get these ideas. And then finding, so I think I'm moving, I'm going to move on to the drone industry, especially because that's what we do. One of the key issues, as Ms. Prof. Michael was saying, rules and regulations for aerospace industry is a key thing that we need to know, understand, and make sure that our product fits with that regulations, especially for drone. But for the drone, the problem is that I think that for aircraft and aerospace industry, the rules and regulations are a bit clear. But as for drones, since it's a new thing, and each country has a different, I would say that rule regulations are a bit evolving in every country. And then, so it's not, especially in Malaysia, I would say now it's not really that clear what would be the set of rules that you need to follow to make sure that your product fits and can be certified for use by customer. And it's keep evolving. For example, we are working on a self-deploying drone at the moment, as we speak, proof of concept. But then, because in certain country, the rules of regulation operating drone is that operator must be in line of sight, the human need to be there and everything. But if it's a self-deploying drone, and if these rules come in place in Malaysia, that will affect the business model of the whole idea, actually. So these sort of things is not clear. I think the same in India as well. I think they imposed a new rules on bringing in drones, importing drones. A couple of years ago, they banned all the DJI products, and then they just a few designated suppliers or importers, and we have to work with. So that sets. These set of rules keep evolving, so we need to make sure that or predict or work together in line with the regulation bodies in every country, is to make sure that whatever that we envision, or the startup companies, the product that we're producing in startup company fits with that regulation, so that the business won't be affected. And this technology is a bit evolving very fast as well. You may have an idea, you may think that in the drone industry, this is the best idea you have. And the next day you open the China website or something, that'll be there. So this it's important to survey properly your idea and discuss and find out how it can be different, how you can make it unique, so that we can sustain in this area. So what is, for example, in Malaysia, palm oil industry is a big sector and a big contributor for the country's growth. And then the thing is that it's not so common in all the other countries. So producing technologies for it so I mean a lot of market for us to venture into in this area. So I would say startups in like India or in the UK, so they can look into something that only exists in there, so that you can know that you can be unique, and then you can produce something specifically for that area or that industry, and you can make sure that it's cost effective. Okay, and the funding wise in Malaysia, there are, especially after the COVID, the government introduced a few fundings opportunities, grants for startups. For example, we have a sandboxing grants, which it is given to a company which have a TR level 7 or 8 product, where we can use this funding to test our product at the actual customer side, and then to get the certifications, because those sort of things are quite expensive for us to apply for. So that's helpful for us. And then we also have some fundings to, because you may have produced the POC, the proof of concept product, and moving from there to a production is a big step. So Malaysian government, they help with those things as well. So where you have a TR9 level product and it can be moved to production, so we can apply for fundings to do production stuff like moldings and those things, and also market study and marketing is another important thing as well that can be used. So government fundings are there, or even international fundings are there that we can, especially for startups, that we can look into, and to tap that would be a great idea, I would say, that we can work. I think I've heard that even European countries, European unions, they have a lot of grants for startups to work with Asian countries. So we need to look into these sort of opportunities that we can tap into, so that we can sustain, because cash flow is a very important thing for startups. Okay, those are the, I think, different points that I have. I think more can be discussed later.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Dr. Prabhakaran. It was nice hearing from you. You bring the other perspective of the funding and other things which are also equally challenging. So moving on to our third speaker, Mr. Moeen, SPM. He is co-founder and COO of Agnikul Cosmos. So we have moved from UK to Malaysia, and we are now back to India. And Agnikul Cosmos is one of the most happening startup as far as space industry is concerned in India. So he has a Masters of Business Administration from University of Newcastle, United Kingdom in the year 2013. And he also has a Bachelor of Law from Dr. Ambedkar College in the year 2019. He also has a Bachelor of Aeronautical Engineering in the year 2011. The Agnikul, they design, manufacture, test, and launch orbital class rockets for micro and nano satellites. So they work from NCCRD, which is a setup in research setup at IIT Madras, one of the premier institutes of our country. And so rocket scientists, engineers, ex-bankers, and space lawyers are part of his team. And he has a unique blend of people, which he considers as his biggest strength, and which they consider as their biggest strength. And their goal is to make space affordable and to everyone in India. And they're excited about their journey. And the Agnikul is a Chennai-based startup, the place from where our college is also situated. And they have signed one important information or highlights of the companies. They've signed a non-disclosure agreement with Department of Space, ISRO. By signing this, they get access to ISRO's facilities and obtain information pertaining to launch from India. So this was an excellent signatory for Agnikul, and their vehicle, or the vehicle they are working on, is called as Agni Ban. which will be capable of carrying up to 100 kg of payload to low Earth orbits up to 700 kilometers with a plug-and-play engine configuration. So they have also developed a single-piece, fully 3D printed rocket engine called Agni-Let, and it's a cryogenic pump. And their rocket engine will be burning kerosene in liquid oxygen. So they also have a tie-up with Alaska Aerospace Corporation, and they have signed a memorandum of agreement to test launch the Agni-1 launch vehicle, which I was earlier talking about. So over to you, Mr. Moin, and you can give some insights on the challenges for the startups.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Asad. Thanks for having me here. And also, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to fellow younger people who are actually trying to do startups. There are a couple of things that I would like to highlight. I think the previous two speakers have highlighted on all aspects about the legalities, about the documentation, certifications, and the funding part. There's one separate agenda that I would like to talk about is more about understanding working with the hardware, right? So if I ask you anyone who's the CEO of Google, everybody would be answering me, it's Sundar Pichai. But if I ask you who's the CEO of Caterpillar, everybody's going to go to Google and just trying to find out who is. Or if I'm asking you who's the CEO of the company Ford, anyone who's manufacturing or anyone who's associated with the hardware parts. Such things require a lot of grit and determination to do, and it is definitely a team effort that makes a startup make or break in the upcoming years for it. With respect to the software part, I think there are a lot of companies who are focusing and have raised fundings and have like crazy valuations that we definitely can't afford to be looking in the perspective of a hardware. But with respect to if you're doing anything related to hardware, your valuations, your understanding about the product, your proof of concept itself requires not only your time and effort, but also capital for it to be realized. Now, given the fact about how India used to be, it used to be more of a manufacturing industry in the last maybe 3 decades earlier. But over the last, because of this IT industry being booming, we've had a lot of service industry being progressive. Now, coming back to hardware part, people find it very difficult to digest it. Starting with the investors. So if you go and pitch out to them saying that, hey, I would like to build something in the hardware, the response that is going to come is like, if I do the same thing in the film industry, I'm going to get my returns in 3 years. There's something called as a gestation period that needs to be understood with respect to realizing the hardware. Even though you have a proof of concept and the time taken from proof of concept to realize something, it has its own challenges, first of all, and it has a dramatic effect on you because it takes at least 8 to 10 months just to understand the concepts of integration. And understanding aerospace itself, it's not about one person could do anything. You could be the world's best aerodynamics engineer, but if you have a sloppy propulsion team, you're not going to get things done. Likewise, if you have the best brains on the structures, and if your avionics team is not going to be in relation with that, you're still not going to get a product flying. So first of all that we need to accept at this juncture is like one person can't actually define things. It is a group effort. It is an integrated effort that needs to be realized. The minute more people start to come into an action, there are possibility of a lot of errors. And this is the limitation that actually runs in the supplier's mind, the customer's mind, and more importantly, the investor's mind. And to start with respect to the regulations and the documentation part. So in our company, in Aeronautical, I have a saying, like I definitely tell to all the people who work along with me, it's 50% of engineering that you do and 50% of documentation. So if you've had an opportunity to look at ISRO's documentation, right, Indian Space Research Organization, so they would actually draw a nut and tell you this is what a nut looks like. And if you have to tighten the nut, they're going to tell you how they are exactly supposed to be doing it. Whether it is you use a torque meter, you rotate with like this much of length, this much of torque. The only 3 rounds are advised, not more than that. So the documentation of the vehicle would be like, I just can't explain it to you because we've done this ourselves, and the pain that we undergo in understanding, even if it's a trivial thing, and explaining to people to get certifications. It's exactly a kind of a very difficult task. And that's what makes aerospace industry a different league of its own. That's why the rocket science is considered, it's not, people generally use this term, right? It's not rocket science to belittle things, but it's actually very, very, very important, because the understanding that you need to have is, even though your engineering is right, it just works for that particular product. But there are multiple ways to get the same product done. And this is what you call it as a striving for innovation. That's what the aerospace industry is all about. So whenever anything happens in this industry, you have to go through a set of people, starting with stakeholders who don't understand engineering, with stakeholders who want to rip apart what you've done with your engineering. So you have both the spectrums that you need to be doing in a startup. That's the first challenge that we need to accept. Then the second most challenge is understanding the team strengths. I think one of the speaker actually prominently said about like the company starting itself. It goes down till the last person who's actually cleaning it. For example, if I ask someone to clean an engine and if he leaves just a piece of cloth inside the engine, I'm going to see a catastrophic effect. And this is the reality that is happening. If we see any launches that fail, if you see any of these things like millions of dollars being burnt on the launch pad or in an aircraft, it's not because the engineering is flawed. It's about someone in the maintenance would not have cleaned properly. Someone would not have opened a valve at the right time. Someone would have not realized what needs to be done when they actually saw something. Reporting, all of these things are the fundamental reasons for failure. Engineering has been figured out. There's no innovation. I would say there's no engineering, or intellectually you're not going to find it very intriguing for yourself. We went to moon in 1960s. We are just building the same thing over thing again. Aerospace, everything is sorted. If you're going to combine all of these things into a package, and if you're trying to actually put it out to the market, you need to have obviously the understanding of the product, as well as be prepared to go through the certifications. That's the most difficult one. So I'll tell you why I'm trying to be stressful about all of these things is when we started this company, we thought it's going to be done in 2 years, but it was not. The more we started doing, the timelines were actually pushed. And we had to explain to the investors as well, because this is the first time that we are building. Anything that you do in aerospace, for example, for our product, it's the first time that we are doing. I've not built a rocket engine before. This is the first time that we've realized it. And it was a learning on the go, right? And you got to be wearing multiple hats. Everyone has their strengths in a team, but if I am an aerospace engineer myself, but I had very less understanding about the avionics part, although we do have subjects, but the ability to understand why it is being down there and integrating these courses, integrating its understanding to get an output would be the major challenge on the startup itself, because you have multiple people working, you have multiple concepts to be integrated, and more importantly, there's something called as that I would like to stress about is systems engineering. Being in India, be studying in aerospace or studying engineering, we are exposed to a lot of technical stuff on the theoretical side. On the practical side, we do have understanding about, yeah, it goes from point A to point B. The flow happens from here to there, but we don't really have an exposure about what exactly it does and why exactly it does. Understanding the concepts and making it a reality are two different things. And the 4 years that we spend in understanding engineering or studying a master's and realizing a product is completely different. It's a different challenge. And when you're opening an aerospace startup, you're basically opening a multi-interdisciplinary mini university for yourself. That is exactly what you're doing. If you can run this, you are successful enough to, you would have exposure to all the streams, and you would basically be exposed to dealing with people, because you'll be going to the market as well as you'll be going to the job market as well to find such people. So it's an amazing feeling to do something in hardware specifically, and in aerospace, because it is regulated, you have documentation. When you do something great in aerospace, right, the entire world looks at you. So it is more of a B2B, right? And very few aerospace products are actually going to the customer today, like the drones today we have. But more importantly, aerospace is more about B2B. So you have it's a very saturated market out there. But if you can capitalize on any of your leads, that would be an amazing feeling to start. And I would like to tell a little bit about this aerospace pricing. So this is something that you need to understand because it's a very big market and an opportunity for all of us to grow. If you want a nut that is rated or it's a TRL9 nut or a bolt, right? You could get the same thing in a local. So in India, in Chennai, we have this called place called Paris where you will find it for 10 rupees, an M6 nut. The same nut, if you want to buy it from an aerospace company who has certified it, you will get the same nut for 10,000 rupees. The difference here is not of the material of the nut. The difference here is not because of the uh, capability of the nut. It's more about the testing, the documentation, and the certification that it goes through. So you have a lot of margin to do this if you can actually capitalize on these three fronts. So this is something that I would like to highlight it on. So that's my view about how an aerospace startup needs to focus on. These are the challenges that are today currently in the market. The rest of the things, the funding, you will do it, the pitching, you will learn on the job. It's nothing to it. No one is a born pitcher, no one is a born engineer. You could do that. If you just wear multiple hats, you will just progress if you want to do it. But the standards that you need to lift yourself up is to respect the industry for what it has been doing and to respect the industry about how it has actually progressed. And these things, if you can align your startup with it, you would actually definitely, I think, will face success. So those are my views, sir. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to express it out.
Thank you, Mr. Moin. That was nice of you, and to stress on the precision, as they call it. Precision is very important, and certification in aerospace field is always the most talked about thing, and I think it's very nice that you stressed on that. So we'll move on to our fourth and the final speaker, who happens to be also our alumnus. She's Ms. Sivanandita Tamai Selvan. She is an aeronautical engineer and university state rank holder as well. She did her Bachelor of Engineering from KCG College of Technology in the year 2017. And she also is pursuing her MBA from Indian Institute of Management. Talking more about her career, her career is in business and manufacturing as a first generation entrepreneur. She has worked with Government of India for development of unmanned aerial system for tiger conservation at Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun, under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. She has acquired certifications on product design and analysis, CNC manufacturing, technology, managerial skills, and entrepreneurship. Her innate ability to grasp knowledge faster with the ability to manage single-handedly and encouragement from her mentors has led her to launch Arch Drones in 2017, which is a proprietorship firm having R&D in hybrid drone development, and it also acts as a sub-dealer for DJI drones and dealer of AEE drones in Chennai. And it has incorporated, and then it is she has also incorporated the Sosher Drone Crafts Private Limited in the year 2018, and I think it is one of the first, or if I'm not sure, that it is the first company to be set up at Aerospace Park Chennai in Valam Vadagal, Sri Perambuttur, Chennai. And it is an aerospace, automobile and medical component manufacturing unit situated in Sipcot Aerospace Park. Okay, so over to you, Ms. Shivadandita. She also happens to be my student, so I expect.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this opportunity for sharing my experience along this 3 years after college. Actually, I would say it was a rich experience in a very short period of time. And I'm grateful to the Almighty for giving me that. And as an introduction to what I was doing, sir summed it up really well. I was with WII in the drone project, and then I wanted to start my own firm. Starting your own firm is, the starting itself is a challenge. I think all the other speakers covered all the points that I wanted to say, especially Michael sir he actually covered all the things that I wanted to say. But I just wanted to add this: the challenge is in starting itself. So I wanted to, like myself and my classmate, as well as my project mate, Mr. Swarnaraj, both of us started this firm together. We have a vision in our mind and we want to reach it with a particular technology. We have the technology also in our mind, but we don't know if it would work, if we can do it. So that was a challenge for us first. So the self-confidence that we wanted to develop. So we thought, okay, we'll just try it. We'll try it out and see if it works or not. We'll make a scaled prototype of it. So we sat for a few months and we did it. It was a do or die situation for us. I had an offer from Boeing CDG and he had an offer from Infosys. So if this came out well, we are opening the firm, or else we're just packing up and going to our jobs. So we did it. It actually took our hybrid drone took its first flight in 2018, and we started the firm. Initially, the second challenge that we faced was how to reach our vision, choosing the path to reach our vision. So we first chose a path of opening a traditional drone firm, something similar to Kripagaran sir's firm. We started trading drones from DJI. We were also providing services to certain industrial projects such as surveillance and to monitor workers who are working at a height. We implemented such projects, and we were also doing customization of drones, as well as we were trading drones from DJI. But later on, we wanted to get into the broader light. So we wanted to get into the Chennai Aero Park. And I should thank the Almighty again for giving us such advisors from various routes who helped us to reach this point, to approach the government for various schemes. And, the SIPCOT has schemes for young entrepreneurs like me. The third challenge was I did all this on my own as a woman first, and then my age and experience level. So when I approached the government, they were very supportive, but also they had this question: what kind of experience you have? How much experience do you have to run this firm? I said, I do have some experience, but I am still learning. I'm learning 24/7. Every minute I am learning. So I think by the time I finish the construction and go to my office, I'd be much more experienced than what I am now. I somehow spoke and convinced them. And the MSME department in India, for participants from other countries, the central government has a special development institute for MSMEs, that is micro, small, medium enterprises in various cities across India. So I approached them first. They told me there is this opportunity from Tamil Nadu government where they have a scheme for new entrepreneur come enterprise development scheme. So I wanted to tell this to the upcoming generation. Many of them don't know about the schemes that our government gives. So this is a scheme where you are a new entrepreneur, your family does not run a business. So that means your first generation. And then you're going to start a new unit. So in such cases, when you are going for funding, the bank or the other funding routes, I think the others have spoken about, venture capitalists, investors, etc. Now I'm talking about the bank route. So when you approach a bank for funding, they are going to ask you for the IT returns for the past 2 to 3 years. That we will not be having as a new entrepreneur. At this early stage, like I completed my BE in 2017, so I had only a year and a half of experience when I started this. So I will not be having a proper IT returns for 3 years. Hence, this need scheme was a perfect scheme for me. So I had to pitch my idea, my vision, and I wanted to get into the aerospace park. And this is a market I'm looking at, and I had to explain everything to them, applied for it, and the government of Tamil Nadu recommended me to some of the nationalized banks. So now convincing the bankers was the next challenge. It They were pretty much convinced, but it took a long time. When you as Mr. Moyen pointed out, you set a limit as 2 years, like you're going to start it in 2 years. But for us, it just dragged on. We were supposed to be starting by 2020 January, but I think we started in 2020 December. Uh, we faced a lot of problems while construction also. So as Mr. Moin pointed out, you have to be you have to have knowledge in every sector if you're coming into aerospace industry, which is very, very true. And I would say being a jack of all trades is a must if you want to be a master in business. So usually they say you have to jack of all trades but master of none. But I think that's not going to work out here. You have to be knowing everything so that you don't lose the money that you got from your investors or bankers, because they give you the money for a particular investment, and you have to route it in a right way so that it will give you back the remuneration and the return on investment is good. Otherwise, if you are not very vigilant, you have to spend in a lot of ways, not only just my company. It operates with missions, like Mr. Moin said again. We manufacture precision components for aerospace, defense, medical, and automobile industries, automobile being the least. Currently our projects are going on for the defense. So even the COVID has affected the industry really badly. The government supports us through defense orders. So that's how our company is, up and running now. But as when it comes to AS standards and all the documentation, everything, we are doing it since we are in the initial stage. It is easier for us to bring it into the system. So when expenses are into account, we have to spend for everything. When you have to maintain a factory, we have an acre space in Aerospace Park. We have a building of 4,800 square feet. So we have maintenance costs as well, and we have gardening costs as well. So when we have to choose a supplier or the vendors, we have to be very vigilant so that we should be knowing about civil engineering, electrical, landscaping, everything together so that you don't lose your money. So this is one thing I want to tell for the future generation. Don't limit yourself to some subject. If you don't know something, just go out, read about it, uh, know about it. It doesn't matter if you know something a little extra, because it is going to help you in some way or the other. So this was my experience from the past 3 years, and we still have the vision of making Indians into Jetsons. So if I think 90s kids would be aware of Jetsons, it's a 1960s um, cartoon series which was aired on Cartoon Network. It is it will show the lifestyle of a family where they'll be traveling to the offices on UFOs or airships, like you can call drones now. So our entire vision is to make Indians into Jetsons. So we are working towards that with the hybrid technology, and we have a space now, and we are looking out for investors as well. We will be making it into a product. Like we have a scaled prototype right now, and we are working to make it into a product, and we will release it into the market hopefully in a few more years to come. So I mean, in the meantime, we are into the manufacturing sector, and we have CNC machines. So we are manufacturing precision components for aerospace, defense, and medical areas. We also have to do manufacturing in a different way, bring the system into a different way so that we stand out from the crowd. Since we are new, the companies whom we approach also asks for what kind of experience you have, who are your customers, etc. So we have to prove them only with our workings. We have to show them our samples, the lead time that we take, the the expertise that we have, the team that we have, all that only we can pitch. So with that, you have to be prepared for a very bumpy road. It's simply like a roller coaster. So Mr. Moin also talked about the lead time, which we would call, to reach the debt equity ratio. It will take you at least 5 years in the aerospace industry. because you have to take a lot of you know certifications, and to take the certifications itself, it will take you some time. So only when you get the certifications, you'll be having better orders. So that is how we are functioning, and we will reach our vision soon. And thank you for KCG for supporting us from the beginning. And a big thanks to the Hindustan Group of Institution, and to the CEO, Dr. Anand Jacob Verghese, for supporting us in all ways possible. Even they have been supporting us locally through Principal Sundar Rajan of HIT Polytechnic and Aviation College. He also visited our facility, and he has given us many inputs about the local problems that the area is facing. Since it is an industrial park, you have other local thugs and political problems also. So we have been facing that also from the construction period. But now, after we have started it, it did the aerospace park, it has put us in the stage. Like we are getting so many calls and contacts from many people, many big industrial players. Like the others pointed out, you have to be in connection with the big players to get yourself pitched up. And that, I think, we took the right path. And I wouldn't say we took the path. It was a destiny. The Almighty planned it for us. It was laid out so beautifully that many a times we feel like when you want something, the entire universe is conspiring for you to achieve it. Many a times we feel that. The saying from Paul Silo, the author of Alchemist, was very true for us. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. It was very nice hearing your students speak so nicely about her experiences, and probably she's the youngest of the speakers today, but probably she's the bravest of them as well. You can tell that as a teacher. So as she pointed out, it's learning as we go along. So all the three, other than Pro Vice Chancellor Michael, all of them are like already I mean, or in the route. They are not still well established. They are still going on. But obviously, the challenges you have faced already would have been itself a very good experience for you to share with our faculty and students. So what we'll do now is we'll open the floor for discussion. So anybody who wants to ask any question or want to ask any tell any comment on the speaker, they can do so. So before we open it for the audience, I would just like to ask first question to Professor Michael. Sir, as an academician, what do you think is the most important skill that an entrepreneur should have, and or all the skills that an entrepreneur wants to have, can he gain it in the college itself, or some of the skills he needs to gain, as the other speakers have pointed out, through their experience? So what is your view on that, sir? What the skills?
I'm not sure that it is necessarily a skill as such. I think it's a quality, and I think the quality is bravery. Yeah, I think that that setting up your own company, and being prepared to sink in a lot of your own time, and even if it's not necessarily your own money, a lot of the people who set up startup companies, they're sacrificing the fact that they could be working for large companies, having larger salaries, but they're playing the game where they'll get their rewards 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the line. So I think it's that bravery and the vision. So if I were to say, what skills are important, it is not necessarily sort of the technical skills or business or management. I think it's listening, because you can have the best technical education. You can have an MBA, you can have finance qualifications, but if you don't listen to what your potential customers want, if you don't listen to what your investors are saying, and if you don't take advice on the areas that I mean, even if you're not aware that you don't have enough expertise, you may not. If you're not prepared to take advice, that eventually is likely to lead you to fail. So the skill is listening, and the quality is bravery.
Nice. Nice to hear about that. Next, I would like to ask Dr. Krubakaran. Mr. Moin has left there because he has some other important appointment at 5. So we'll ask Dr. Krubakaran, how do you see the robotics field evolving? And like we see a lot of, I mean, sci-fi movies. We have seen obviously we visualize many things, and or like we have a lot of big things. So do you see robots as helping for our day-to-day activities, or what's the potential that you see for anybody who wants to start up? Robotics, of course, can also include drones. How do you see the potential, and for any budding entrepreneur, how do you see the field growing in the future?
Okay. So as for robotics, yeah, I'm sure we have seen a lot of very futuristic robotics in the movie, that we have robocalls and sort of things. But again, when it comes to business, it always goes back to what the customer wants. We can build a fantastic robot, but it can cost even to not only building something to achieve the objective through robotics, but it has to be cost effective as well, especially in Asian countries where the manpower cost is cheap compared to in Europe, UK, or US. Taking into the cost effectiveness is a key thing to make sure that whether we can implement a robotic solution for that area. So evolving, I'm sure that technology to make any robots that we have seen in sci-fi movies or recent movies is there already, especially if you type into the military technologies and everything. But then again, the needs complex in the play. So it has to be the requirement from the customer, both to achieve the objective, and also it has to be cost effective to make, to realize that into a product. So that in place, but as for drones, it is becoming cheaper and cheaper nowadays. And then especially companies like, I think Shivan and Tita they are being established in every country. We can make and customize our own set of parts and everything that makes the overall production of robotic system and drones cheaper, because I think used to be like 10 years ago, if you want to buy something from Malaysia, even some server holder, something, you need to get it from US or UK, it's very expensive. And then China comes to play, then it became cheaper. And now if it can be produced locally by these precision manufacturers, it'll be cheaper, and it can become cost effective. So I would say making robots that I've seen in movies and everything, that's feasible. But again, when you want to do you can have crazy ideas and everything for a robotic field, but when you want to start up, make it into a business model, it has to be always to fit the requirement from the customer, and also the cost effectiveness. So I think that answers questions, right, a bit. Okay.
Yes, Shivanandita, I would like to ask you a very tricky question. Like you have set up a manufacturing plant, like you have decided to go, which is not the order. Like I think Mr. Moin was speaking about software industry or IT startup is the order of the day. Everybody wants to have a startup, maybe retire rich, like Professor Michael was also pointing out. So they want to have a quick fire a billionaire or something like that. So how do you think setting up a manufacturing plant is different, and how rewarding will it be? What is in your viewpoint compared to, let's say, an IT or a software startup? How challenging also you can touch upon that?
Okay, sir. Thank you for asking me this question. I think I have a one-line answer for this. Slow and steady wins the race. Yeah, and I want to scale my company into a large company. So that is from the start, we have been thinking that we don't want to sell our company to anyone. Maybe we can have joint ventures or other instruments with other partnerships with other companies, but not sell our company. We want to stay, we want to become public, we want to become a limited company. So I think manufacturing is a great route for that. We are not going to stop with manufacturing precision components. We have space, we have space around us also. We can acquire them, and we are planning to put up other additive manufacturing setup along with EDMs. Those are the latest manufacturing technologies. So we are moving more into the lean manufacturing side. So eventually, we want to manufacture an entire drone in our facility. So that is a whole view. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Professor Michael, the question I would like to ask you, like, what do you think is the biggest asset that a company or a startup can have? Is it going to be like a human capital, or is it the components, or the precision, or the skills? I mean, the product that they can manufacture, those things, or is it the networking? Which is the biggest asset that any startup could have, like when they start the company? Which you consider is more important or more particular?
Yeah. Okay. So the starting point has to be the idea. Okay, and that can be for a product. It can be for a service. It can be for a manufacturing technique, or a systems integration. It has to be something that either is unique in the market, so people will come to you, and ideally that there is some barrier that other people won't be able to overcome, or that you're moving into into a very large market where there are other competitors, but the market is growing so quickly that you know that you will be able to get a share of it. So it's the fundamental idea, and then lying behind that, you need to have the sort of the vision. Yeah. So Shivananthita has just, I thought that was a wonderful expression. She knows what she wants to do. They want to grow the company. They want to take it. They want to take it public. Now, if you've got that end point, that will inform the way that you make decisions as you go on a year-by-year basis. So I have seen spin-out companies move to success very, very quickly because people have that end point. And I've seen spin-out companies with very good ideas that have languished because particularly sometimes when you have academics involved, academics are in universities because they have a certain skill set. And often when they set up a spin-out company, they've set it up because they have a really good idea, but they don't have the trajectory and the end point for the company. So they have the company, it has the idea, but it really languishes. They don't get a lot of sales because they don't go out and chase a lot of sales. They don't grow because they don't have the strategy to grow. So firstly, you have to have the idea, you have to have the reason that the company is going to exist and either be different or to be able to capitalize on a market trend. And then secondly, you must have a strategy, you must have a strategic direction and an end point.
Thank you, sir. So I think there's one question from Professor Ilangovan. He wants to know whether it is important, which is the more important domain? Is it going to be the design of whatever product we are making, or is it going to be the manufacture? Which will be the more important domain? So any of the speaker would like to answer that? Or? Yeah. Otherwise, Professor Michael, you can. Which is the more important domain, manufacturing or design?
I wouldn't necessarily. So okay, I think it depends on the type of organization you are. If you're a company that's looking to be selling manufacturing methods, manufacturing is more important. but I'll give you the example of the spin out I'm working with that's making the wearable technology. In some ways, the most important thing is the design. The design of the wearable glove is the most important thing. But one of our key issues is getting the manufacturing right. Now, in the space that we are working in, it would not make sense for us to be doing all of the manufacturing, because you've got the electronic components, you have to have the circuit board with all of the components integrated on. The glove requires fabrics, manufacturing, and then you have to have assembly. We do not have the resource to be able to invest in all of those things. So you then become reliant on a manufacturing supply chain, and getting that supply chain right is very important. And we've had issues where you take your first delivery and a very, very high percentage of what's in the first delivery doesn't work. Now, of course, you can go back, you can say these don't work, we're rejecting them, but that affects your timescales. So building a manufacturing supply chain, having a good manufacturing supply chain in terms of multiple sources of supply, maybe in different parts of the world, and having trusted suppliers. It's difficult, and it's very difficult when you're a small company that in the first instance might only be ordering small numbers of hundreds of parts. So it's not necessarily it's not necessarily an either or. That
So one, yeah, one second.
Sorry. Is that,
yeah, now you're audible.
Yeah. Okay. It's not necessarily an either or that you design or manufacturing. You could hear me, couldn't you?
Yeah, we could hear you, sir. Just the last second. Yeah. It's clear.
It wasn't. It's not an either or that you do design or manufacturing, but where you put your effort may be different depending on exactly what your product and what your business is.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Professor Ilangovan, you want to ask any clarification? You can ask.
Yeah, clarification. Okay. See, what I feel, I will give an example. Then it's better to write manufacturing or R&D, where the importance lies. Okay. We are in ISRO. We do the both. First the R&D, then we start manufacturing. Correct. But let us say the modern world. Drones are well established. Even a business model or a commercial model or a manufacturing model is almost is breached. But coming to the satellite, still that business model, revenue model is not there that much here in India. What I want to see, what I see, I will take an example of Elon Musk. When he want to launch his own, he went to Russia to buy a IRBM, right, ICBM, but the rates was very high. Returning on the airport itself, he worked out what is base is required for a rocket or any SpaceX like that. So then he finally arrived. The rate was very less, right? Comparing what is ULA is quoting for NASA. So and there we started and manufacturing himself, and he never gone for the space certified product. He manufactured a product and certified it by the space authorities. That's why it became very simple. Even now, I see some of the CubeSat or their prices are too much high. A space platform is asking by 34 lakhs, which can be done in 3 lakhs in India. Then where the manufacturing design comes into the picture is the reusable launch vehicle. There is a design, there is a R&D. Right. Apart from manufacturing, the reusable vehicle, the idea, a concept we put in. Now, that is the R&D. So the R&D must proceed and manufacturing must follow. Other it's like a cycle. That's what my idea. Yes, but currently, even the CubeSat and everything, all the prices are still high, not suitable for India. And another segment, we find a launching problem. We have to pay for ISRO. Per kg around $20,000 per kg per payload we have to pay, and that is also another entrance to improve in this field. But SkyCool or right, AgniCool, these kind of people, we believe on them. Apart from even SSLV also is very going to be costly. small entrepreneur, like very few people are enter into the rocket field, like Agnikul and Skyroot and Mallan Aerospace. So only 2 or 3. Everybody is ready to make a CubeSat, but very few people are ready to very there to manufacture a rocket to launch a CubeSat. So we have to go
Yes,
for
sir.
other countries, or
That's
we have to do a balloon launch, which is a suborbital again.
yes, sir.
But, okay.
Thank you, sir.
So that is
Thank
the
you very
situation. If anybody help in that, any entrepreneur is
yes,
more welcome. That's what
sure,
my.
sir.
That's all.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your insights, sir.
Thank you.
So I think we're running out of time. So we'd like to go for a formal vote of thanks, and we'll. I think it was an enthralling session, and every speaker was excellent in their way they articulated, and we had a wide domain as well as the different perspectives. So I would just like to invite Dr. Kalaivanan to deliver the formal vote of thanks. Thank you.
Good evening, one and all. I take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this international panel discussion about challenges for the startups in aerospace industry, organized by our institute. At the outset, I would like to thank our panel member, Professor Michael and Guru, Dr. Guru, and Mr. Moin and Sivanandita for participating in the event. We thank to our director, Ma'am Annie Jacob, for her motivation. I would also like to thank our principal, Dr. Prabhakaran, and Associate Dean, Dr. Devasundari ma'am, for their enthusiastic support and encouragement. I would also like to thank Dr. Ellavadagan sir for helping me in organizing this event. A special thanks to Dr. Azad for hosting this webinar. My heartfelt thanks to my students and faculty members for their active participation. And thank you one and all for being here. And let's wind up for the day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
See you all
Thanks.
next time. Thank you, Guru, and thank you. Bye.